It's time now for QB1, and I'm joined by Chris Phillips for that. Chris, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers. I think a lot of people thought that this might be a little bit bumpy heading into this year, just given everything that we saw in such a tumultuous offseason, little leaks here and there about is he happy, is he unhappy, inter-team dynamics. And I think we're seeing some of those frustrations boil over at certain points this season, not to mention the fact that the Jets just got out of there wearing cheese heads and basically punking everybody at Lambeau. I don't know if anybody's really saw that coming. I mean, do you think Aaron Rodgers is happy right now in Green Bay?
After the last two games, I don't think so. I think he's very upset, and I think a lot of the issues that he expressed in this offseason that people have talked about, the lack of weapons around him, specifically wide receivers, especially when you traded away his main guy, Devontae Adams. I think he's reminding his head coach and his GM, hey, I said I wanted more wide receivers. You guys basically ignored me and gave me some rookies and some guys that are probably best as number 3 receivers. And, I can only do so much. But with that being said, I think all 3 of them are, for the media and for the public, doing everything professionally. They're saying all the right things. They're not throwing anybody under the bus. They're making it that everybody is on the same page. It's all kumbaya and happy days there. But I would suspect behind closed doors, it's a completely different matter. I think, Aaron Rodgers is probably letting his head coach, Matt LaFleur, know, like, listen, I need talent. The GM, Gutekunst, is not listening to me, so let's, together go and talk to him and try and make some deals to get me some more talent to help me out. There are some notable wide receivers out on the free agent market that they could sign. There's also the possibility for some trades as well, as we saw, Robbie Anderson from Carolina got dealt to Arizona. So, does Carolina deal DJ Moore to Green Bay? I'm sure Aaron Rodgers would love to have DJ Moore on his team, but, as far as getting some help, let's see what happens.
Correct the record here, but I seem to remember a decent amount of friction with Mike McCarthy that kind of spilled over out into everything. And at the time, when Matt LaFleur came in, it was like, oh, okay, maybe here's a guy that can get along with Aaron Rodgers or can be, the support that Aaron Rodgers essentially needs. Because I get the sense that he doesn't, that he's judicious with the advice that he takes, I guess. Let's just put it that way and try to be nice about it. But, if they don't go out and pick up some of these pieces that you mentioned, if ownership doesn't lean into his desire to improve offensively with some of these key pieces, I mean, how ugly do you think this could sort of get behind closed doors, and will it ultimately impact the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think it can. I think, you touched on it earlier. The Jets just came in and beat him in Lambeau Field and then decided to wear cheeseheads on the way out. I think if things like that kind of continue to happen as a season, I think there could be a major shocker at the end of the season. Maybe Rodgers says, okay, I'm done. I'm going to retire. I'm going to walk away. I have a Super Bowl victory at hand. I've got multiple MVPs. I'm just not going to continue to play and put my body through this if, I'm having to basically carry everything and ownership is not going to help me out. So I could see that happening. I could also see him saying, hey, I'm demanding a trade. I mean, he sat out for a long time. This past offseason, he could do it again and really just force their hands. I mean, a lot of teams would be paying up handsomely to get Aaron Rodgers, knowing that Aaron Rodgers could, elevate their team and take, a team that's borderline playoffs to a legit playoff team to a Super Bowl contender, things of that magnitude. So, this season is very interesting to watch for, just because there is, I think, some hostility and dynamics between everybody in there as regards to everybody wants to be the person, the main guy. And I don't think there's anybody who's willing to kind of take a step back and say, okay, let's go with you. You can be the leader. I think LaFleur, he wants to run the ball a lot, and that doesn't really vibe with Rodgers. Rodgers wants to throw the ball. He's always been a quarterback who's done a lot of passing and not a lot of running. It's been running to help complement the pass. But, he's kind of adapted to it. I think he's okay with it now, but I don't think that's really what he wants to do. So this season is going to be fun, and I would tell everybody, get your popcorn ready to watch the rest of the Green Bay season.
Has he given any kind of indication? I know that he is quick with a sarcastic line or a joke, keeps a lot of things close to the vest, is an expert at deflection. Has he given any real sense that you can recall of his desire to finish his career in Green Bay, that, Lambeau means a lot to him, that he wants to kind of either end it there or continue for a couple more years there? Or do you think that he is something of a mercenary in terms of, listen, if you guys don't meet the demands, like you're saying, I will go elsewhere?
Yeah, I think he's very much aware of the history of the Green Bay Packers organization. I think he knows that that is a very storied franchise. It's a winning franchise, and he is one of the best quarterbacks to play for them as well. With that being said, I think he wants to win. I mean, he came in very early in his career. He won a Super Bowl, and there was talk about, how many more was he going to get before he's all said and done. He still has just that one. Matthew Stafford just got his first Super Bowl, and the two of them are now tied for Super Bowl victories. And if you look at their stats aren't too terribly far apart. And, there was always this talk that Matthew Stafford, or that Aaron Rodgers was one of the best quarterbacks and Matt Stafford wasn't because of the Super Bowl difference. Well, that's gone now. Patrick Mahomes has one Super Bowl victory as well. And there's a lot of talk about how many more is he going to get. Mahomes has been back to the Super Bowl, and Rodgers is still trying to get back there. I think he really does want to play in Green Bay. I think the fact that he could go down or have his legacy be one team is something special, and not a lot of players are able to do that. I mean, Peyton Manning finished his career in Denver. Tom Brady is finishing his career in Tampa Bay, possibly if he decides he wants to, go somewhere else. But the fact that players can say I played with one team, there's not a lot of those type of players left in the league. And so that is something that's special. I think it's something that is appealing to him, but I think at the end of the day, I think he wants to go and play and win. And if that means it's not in Green Bay, then it's not in Green Bay. He'll be fine playing somewhere else. I think he'll be very appreciative of the time he had in Green Bay, but I think for now he's okay in finishing out this season in Green Bay, and I think he'll reassess everything after the season and see what is there for him and the reasons for him to come back, and then hopefully Gutekunst can really just sell him on a game plan for the future and what they can do in Green Bay and help him get back to another Super Bowl.
If he does stay in Green Bay, you mentioned the single Super Bowl. Will he be viewed as the greatest Packers quarterback of all time?
I don't know if you could say definitively he's the greatest. He's going against Brett Favre. I'm drawing a blank on the other Hall of Fame quarterback up there, Bart Starr. But he definitely be up there in quarterbacks and Green Bay history as being one of the best. I think if he got a second one, I think that would be enough to push him to the top and just being the best Green Bay quarterback to ever play there. His numbers are just incredibly impressive. And the fact that he's able to do that and, have multiple Super Bowls would be something that can help push him over the top.
Do you see him winning another Super Bowl? Full stop. I mean, in Green Bay or elsewhere?
I'll answer this way. In Green Bay, I think he can. We talked about it. Everybody's talked about it. He needs some more weapons around him to help him get there. I think he can. If he can get those wide receivers, some more playmakers around him, I think they can. The division isn't overly tough. The NFC as this whole isn't overly tough, and he can still get there. He's got the talent to still get it done. If he goes somewhere else, I think it really just depends on where he goes. What teams out there are going to pay the huge price to get him. And then from there, it's a matter of what the division looks like and everything. If he goes to the AFC, it's not going to be easy. I mean, you're talking about he's going to have to go through guys like Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, possibly Tua if he continues his season. There are just so many guys in the AFC that are going to be problematic for him to win games. If he stays in the NFC, I think he'd have a much easier time getting to the Super Bowl. There's far less quarterback competition there, and he could. It's just a matter of what NFC team is going to pay the price, because Green Bay, I'm sure, is not going to want to send him to another NFC team, because that means they're going to have to face him if they get to the Super Bowl, and I don't think they'll want to do that necessarily. So I think another NFC team is going to have to pay a little bit more than possibly what an AFC team is going to have to pay. But at the end of the day, if that price that cost is too good to pass up. I think Green Bay will make the best deal for them, and I think they will also make a best deal for Aaron Rodgers as well. I think when it's all said and done, Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers would do something that's very good for all parties because they've had such success together that it would just be smart and good for everybody at the end of the day to make the best decisions that benefit everybody and not, have any last pettiness as their final goodbye or anything like that.
Fascinating insight from Chris Phillips. Chris, thanks.
Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more QB1.